An heir is a term that is used pretty loosely in the law. An heir can mean somebody who gets property under a will. An heir can mean somebody who gets property through a life insurance policy. An heir may be somebody, or may be referred to as somebody who gets property when somebody dies with a living trust. But officially an heir is somebody who gets property from the deceased if the deceased died without a will. So an heir is typically somebody who's in the deceased bloodline. Nobody outside the deceased bloodline is going to get any property of the deceased if the deceased died without a will. And maybe there's two exceptions. One exception would be the government through taxes. Another exception would be the government if the deceased didn't have close enough blood relatives in the state, ends up taking the money because there weren't any blood relatives that were close enough to the deceased to take, or no blood relatives can be found. But an heir is someone who is close enough to the deceased to take some of the deceased's estate if the deceased passed away without a will. Your spouse is probably your heir to a certain extent. Your children, if you have children, would be your heirs to a certain extent unless the spouse got it. In some states, the spouse would get it all, and in some states, the spouse might get some, and the children would get some, and in some states, the spouse may not get any, and it all goes to the children, which points up an excellent point. Having a well-drawn will, having a revocable living trust takes care of all the problems that can come up from heirs. But another problem with heirs is deciding who the heirs are. How many children did the deceased have? And maybe, was the deceased married to this person or not? With this culture where so many people live together without being married, was this person who claims to be the spouse really the spouse? Is there a thing called common law marriage? And in some states there are, in some states there aren't. Was this child the deceased, or did the child just live with the deceased long enough to be considered the child of the deceased? Lots of questions go into it. Very expensive process, very complex process determining who the deceased heirs really were.